Hi, welcome to ePathsasala. I'm glad that you are out there eagerly waiting to understand and practice interior design in your own space. Well, I would like to introduce myself as Dr. Saraswati, working as Assistant Professor, Department of Resource Management of Nashlingam University. I'm sure you would have got a vivid picture about design and their classification. In today's session, we are going to just look into the next topic, elements of design. As you all know, art is man-made expression of something beautiful, but beauty seems to be different for different people. An understanding of what constitutes a good design is essential in any decoration that has to be successful. Certain basic concepts constitute the language of design. They are known as elements of design and principle. Design is made up of essential components such as line, form, color, and texture, etc. These are basic elements and form. They actually form the infrastructure for creating a design. They are fundamental to all visual objects. However, pattern, light, and space have also taken an increased importance as elements of design in contemporary world. Pattern is not so distinct and as an element as others, but it is an important component and essential term in interior designing and decoration. Light and space are not usually included among the elements of art, but general appreciation of art. Each of the basic element is well defined and a unique feature for every art object. The entire class of elements, that is line, form, shape, space, light, pattern and texture, should be studied together because they have their function interdependently. An understanding of the role of each of these elements help to predict the impact of design or style to be created. The main objectives of this particular study would be to understand the role of elements of art in creating a design. Second one, to recognize and realize the significance of elements of design and beauty. Third, to gain a thorough knowledge and appreciate the rationale of design. We would like to see the first one, the line. Line is basic as well as an important element of art. Line is formed by a point when it moves. The literal meaning of line would be a series of points joined together. A point extended becomes a line. A line is a set of points, whether being straight or curved, conceived of as having length without breadth and thickness. Conceptually, a line has got only one direction, that is the length. In reality, a line's length visually dominates whatever thickness it must have to be made visible. The width or thickness of a line may introduce a second dimension. Unlike a point which is static and directionless, a line is capable of expressing movement, direction and growth. Therefore, a line can portray decoration and unity. As visible forms, lines may vary in weight and character. And line is the beginning of a point for designing because it establishes shape or form and is a valuable element of composition. The human eye involuntarily travels through a length of line, and different line gives different impressions. Lines are used to create form and shape. They divide a space within a room and lead in a different or in a definite direction. They create visual impressions. All lines fall into the category of straight or curved or a combination of these two. Straight lines can take three directions: vertical, horizontal or diagonal. The direction of a line belonging to a category of vertical, horizontal, diagonal creates a visual effect or fantasy which must be judged by the individual to learn exactly the effect of a particular object or a room. Lines, shapes, colors and texture may form illusions to produce certain effects, but we cannot be certain that the effect will be recognized in the same manner by everyone. In interior designing, straight lines are considered intellectual rather than emotional, classic rather than romantic, and sometimes severe and masculine. Curves, on the other hand, are used to achieve a more joyful, subtle and rich effect. Now we looked into the first one, there's a straight line. The straight lines are the ones which extend uniformly in the same direction without a curve or a bend. They are subdivided into three: vertical, horizontal and diagonal lines. An emotional significance is attached to these lines based on the position of human body while carrying out various activities. The first one would be vertical line in the same category. category, the vertical line symbolizes a human body in standing position. The body is in state of equilibrium with itself and with the forces of gravity. The human being is attentive and ready to work. Hence, the vertical line expresses the ideas of equilibrium, uprightness, life and activity. It suggests dignity and strength. Vertical line gives a masculine effect. Vertical lines also look intellectual. Hence, it can be used in library and in offices. They also express formality and thus they can be used for any formal room. An optical illusion can be created by using vertical lines to add height to an object as the eyes move up and down in a vertical direction. Such an illusion can successfully be created in a room which has a low ceiling by using vertical lines in curtains and wallpapers. We'll move on to the next, that's the horizontal line. When a human being lies down to rest or sleep, his position resembles a horizontal line. Hence, horizontal line suggests rest and relaxation. Tranquility line can also represent the ground plane, hence may give a down-to-earth feeling. It expresses solidness and stability, but if horizontal lines are short and interrupted, they become a series of dashes which generate a restless feeling. Horizontal lines express informality, hence when one wants to emphasize informality, comfort and relaxation in a room, horizontal lines should be emphasized. Low tables, low bookcases, cornices of windows, low ceilings, broad openings and stretched out furniture emphasizes horizontal lines in a room. Horizontal lines break the severe effect of vertical lines since they carry our eyes right to left and they help to add width to any object. This feeling can be used to create optical illusions in a room which has to be too high ceiling or one wants to reduce its heights. The third one would be the diagonal lines. A man bends forward to run or to pull or push something, making his body in a diagonal position. Therefore, diagonal lines suggest force and movement in a particular direction. So, any diagonal line is a deviation from the vertical or horizontal line. It can be perceived as vertical line falling on the ground or horizontal line rising from the ground towards the sky. In interior design, such lines go well on the wall near the staircase. In the area where one is going to stay for a short time, diagonal lines can be used. The next would be the zigzag lines. A zigzag line is a series of connected diagonal lines. A zigzag line compels the eye to alter its direction alone, aptly and constantly in an unreliable and jerky movement. This activity of the eye caused by the zigzag line tends to increase the visible mass or size of the area covered by them. Designing an object with diagonal lines in interior decoration can be amusing, especially when one wishes to conceal a poorly proportioned part of the structure. It would be one of the best lines to incorporate. The next category in the line would be the curved lines. And curved lines represent movement deflected by lateral forces. They tend to express gentle movement depending on the solidity and the attachment to the earth. Small curves can express playfulness, energy, or patterns of biological growth. They achieve not only a joyful, subtle and artful effect, but also a mysterious and rich effect. The curved lines can assume controlled curved lines and free from curved lines. This is of two types. The first one would be the controlled curved lines, and these curved lines have a higher hearted look, and softly curved style is often considered the ultimate in decorative furniture and has remained popular ever since they have been created. The second one would be the free-form curves, and that reflects the flowing lines of nature made by the waves against the shores and clouds against the sky. These irregular forms are considered contemporary, although many so far combine a suggestion of free-form curves with their tightly controlled scrolls. In order to be truly effective, curved lines, free from or be controlled, must be designed carefully. When the curved lines become exaggerated towards a full circle, they become very active and intense and may be easily overdone in a design. A restrained curve is graceful, flowing and gentle. A gradual transition in the change of direction of a curved line adds as a pleasing quality to any design. To be beautiful and functional, a line must appear to have some purpose. And here we go. The line can be used to create a shape. It can be used to create a pattern, to divide a space and to create movement, and finally to create any optical illusions. We move on to the next element, that would be the form and the shape. The shape and form are requisites used interchangeably with some disparity. The term form is usually applied to a two-dimensional area or shape, whereas a three-dimensional volume or masses is known or identified as shape. So when the lines are connected to encircle a space, the effect would be an outline, a contour, or a shape. So when a two-dimensional shape attains a three-dimension, it obviously turns to be a form. The form of an entity frequently suggests its use. Form may be viewed as a corral of volume surrounded by restrictive factors. Shape is the chief means by which we differentiate one form to another. It may also refer to a contour of line, the outline of a plane, or a boundary of a mass. In each case, the shape is defined by the precise construction of line or plane which detach a form from the background or its adjoining space. So form is a significant ingredient of home planning and decoration. Without the brilliance of form, application of a brilliant color, texture and decoration would be a negative employ. Therefore, it can be said that two prerequisites of a good form of an object are to suit its function as well be influenced by the material with which it is being made. So shape and form can be grouped into three different categories. The first one would be natural shape, which symbolizes the metaphors and the forms of our natural world. Through a process of simplification, these shapes may be abstracted, but they still would retain its essential characteristics of their natural sources. And if a type of a shape and a form derived from the natural objects or from the familiar things, and nevertheless they have been distorted or exaggerated and reorganized, and at times it is beyond recognition, then they are termed as abstract type. Non-objective shapes make no obvious reference to a specific object or to a particular subject matter. Example for this would be geometrical forms and biographic shapes. We move on to the first shape, that's a geometrical shape, which dominate the built environment of both architecture and interior designing. There are three separate and distinct types of geometrical shapes. We have the rectilinear, which can be square or rectangle, angular, which would be triangle or pyramid, curvilinear, forming the circle, sphere, cone and cylinder. In their most regular forms, curvilinear shapes are circular, while rectilinear shapes include the series of polygons which can be inscribed within a circle. In all of these, the most significant geometrical shapes include the circle, triangle and square. Extended into the third dimension, these primary shapes generate the sphere, cylinder, cone, pyramid and the cube. Seldom can one find a room with only one form. Most interiors illustrate a combination of forms, like you have a curved lampshades, rectilinear sofa, areas of rug, then angular ceiling or a staircase are some of these best examples for this particular category. Each of these groups of forms suggests a certain distinctive characteristics. Next one is square and rectangle. Purity and rationality are represented by square. The equality of its four sides and its four right angles has a say to its regularity and visual clarity. It has no preferred or dominant direction and possesses a stable, tranquil figure when resting on one of its sides, but becomes dynamic when it is standing on one of its corners. This form epitomizes strength and is exclusively used, and it tends to be tedious. All rectangles can be considered to be a variation of the square with addition of width or length. While the clarity and the stability of a rectangular shape can lead to a visual monotony, variety can be introduced by varying their size, proportion, color, texture, placement or orientation. Rectangular shapes are clearly the norm in architectural designing. The rectangular forms have measured and have been handled to fit together and have a sturdy and secure relationship of exactly 90 degrees, which gives a sense of definiteness and certainty and establish unity and rhythm when repeated. or when it is repeated. In spite of its definiteness and regularity, it can encompass a great diversity. They can rest with stability on one side, insecurity on the other side, or precariously on one corner, in each position calling forth a different emotional response. To the ancient Greeks, the oblong or rectangle was the form most pleasing to the eye. The Greek golden oblong is ideally 2 units to 3 units or 3 to 5 units. Triangles. The triangles contribute the unity and balance. The triangle represents stability, and triangular shapes and patterns are often used in structural systems since their configuration cannot be altered without bending or breaking one of their sides. The dynamic quality of a triangular shape is also due to the angular relationship of its 3 sides. Because these angles can vary, triangles are more flexible than the squares and rectangles. In addition, triangles can be conveniently combined to form any number of square, rectangle, and other polygonal shapes. So, pyramid and triangles differ from rectangles and squares in their pointed, dynamic character and express greater flexibility. The circular forms are also useful to change the room space and the offset of the rigid right angles of a square and a rectangular furniture. The circle is a compact, inverted shape which has its own natural focus on its counterpoint. It represents unity, continuity, economy of forms. The other curvilinear lines and shapes can be seen to be fragments or combination of circular shapes. Whether regular or irregular, curvilinear shapes are capable of expressing softness of form, fluidity of movement, or the nature of biological growth. The next one would be texture. Each material has a surface quality, that is the tactile quality, which is referred to as texture. Texture refers to the qualities that are perceptible through the sense of touch. So, texture describes how one feels one touches any material and how the surface affects the light that it strikes on it. Sometimes the term texture is also applied to the effects on the surface, which gives the illusion of texture. For example, a laminated sheet having illusion of wooden or a stony texture. On touch, the surface can be smooth, but visually it can give an illusion of roughness. There are 2 basic types of texture, and the texture can be actual or tactile texture and visual. So, tactile texture is one that is real and can be felt by touch, and the visual texture is perceived and can be by the eye. All tactile textures provide visual texture as well. Visual texture, on the other hand, may be real or understood by sight as well by touch. Actual texture is one which is the 3-dimensional surface quality can be felt, whereas visual or illusionary or the simulated texture is one in which the material reveals a textural pattern under a smooth surface. The next element would be color, and as you all know, color is an important art element which no one can ignore. Appreciation of color, largely an emotional process, is felt by nearly everyone, whereas appreciation of other art elements such as line, form, texture, etc. So, a large intellectual process is not so common. Color is a source of universal pleasure, and color is something which is used by everyone to delight them and also to fortify the living environment by a stimulating effect. Like other art elements, color also exhibit their qualities. The 3 basic qualities of color would include hue, value, or intensity, and chroma. So, this can be measured with considerable exactness. These 3 are distinct from one another. Hue is synonymous with the word color itself, and so it refers to the name of the color, while value refers to the amount of lightness or darkness which can be indicated by white or black in color, and intensity refers to the brightness or the dullness of the color. Some colors like red, orange, yellow are warm colors and advancing colors, and the colors like blue, green, purple are cool and receding colors. Darker color shades are heavier than the lighter ones at the tint of the color, and they are actually lighter. So, these colors can successfully be used in the home interiors to create warmth or cool feelings, or to reduce or to increase the size of the room. So, colors can also create an emotional effect. Like we have White is a symbol of innocence, purity and peace, whereas black is used for mourning, evil and etc. Red color may represent love and blue is for sincerity or hope. So color, because of its emotional effect on us, is largely responsible for the atmosphere of a room. So a color scheme of room may be soothing or it can be irritating. It can be cheering or depressing, charming or boring. It can also be welcoming or repelling. So different colors excite different color emotions of the individual, though it may differ in its degree on different people. So there are some neutral colors like we have white, black and grey. Such colors are more valuable in interior decoration as background colors. Some earthly colors like umbers or ochres and almost all of reds, yellow and greens suggest natural earthy characters. So these colors are also called as acid colors such as magenta, blue-green, cyan blue, etc. They can give an idea or a feeling of artificiality. So the idea should be considered by the interior decorator in the use of colors. The next important sector would be light, and light as an element is universally studied by the people in every walk of life. Since light is an art element as well as an utilitarian element. So a variety of moods and effect can be obtained by the clever use of light and shadow, bright and dark areas. So light is an integrated and an important aspect of planning any interior. Among the various sources of light, daylight is an important factor which contributes to the appearance of a room. So it is important for an interior designer to consider the exposure, the number of windows, the amount of sunshine and that enters the room, the trees and the vines that shut out the light, and in what season of the year the room is used, etc. So light can be provided either through a daylight or through an artificial light. The modern artificial light, particularly the electrical light, plays a very important role in dramatizing the effect of that a room can reflect. It can bring in rhythm and continuity to a room's furnishing by linking together the various points of emphasis. So modern artificial light is not only a remarkable functional utility but also a marvelous flexible art medium. It should be used in a room in such a way that the effect produced in different areas in different rooms can vary. So light can also be used to highlight an important area or an object, or to subdue or to camouflage a defect. So it can be used as an amount of emphasis that an area or an object requires, or a vice versa process. The next one would be space. Now space is defined as emptiness, void or interval between things. Space is the most vital element in home design. Most of us at some time or the other feel that we suffer from lack of space in our homes. Yet, there are probably parts of the house or a flat that have been rarely used. At certain times, some corners or clubs that are dark or awkwardly placed are not utilized fully. On the other hand, there seems to be a clutter everywhere that a house, whatever be its size, does not create an impression of space. So every one of us should be conscious of space. The element space can be used successfully to increase the size of the room visually and to give the room a quiet feeling of rest and beauty. Large unadorned openings, black and white effects in room encourage the eye to explore the distance beyond, especially when the feeling of spaciousness is created by the way we decorate a room and the way we arrange the furniture in it. For example, light colors, low furniture, shiny surface, reflective images and well-planned storage, all of these contribute to a feeling of extra spaciousness. Lighting is another device that can be used to provide a feeling of space. So lighting that emphasizes the ceiling can make the room look larger. The implication of space could be a pleasant relationship needs to be maintained between space and pattern, and too much of pattern is as bad as too little. Now, the space may give a feeling of being exposed to a large area which is not provided with a boundary of fence. So space may give a trapped feeling if there is a high wall surrounding a small space. So gradual change of space is more pleasing than an abrupt change. At the end, in addition to interior decoration, an architect and a landscape designer should utilize the element of space. Therefore, with a good spatial arrangement, a feeling of quietness and beauty can be created. So, having given an idea about the components of design, I conclude that creating a design is an art and one requires great need for understanding its fundamental components to make it scientific. A thorough knowledge of these components, namely the elements of art and design, would definitely help a person to create beautiful things and enrich their surrounding. Thank you.